Hello, this is my peer review of Kelsey's Essay 1, Will Finds a Way. This is following questions off the peer review and rhetorical analysis worksheet. So to start off with, context is really good in the intro paragraph. Kelsey, you start off right away saying, who's giving this commercial, which is Under Armour, who's narrating it, Dwayne Johnson. Give the title of the commercial as your title of your essay, which is good as well. And then you give a really good background information about the commercial. So much so that I would say that if somebody read this essay before seeing the commercial, they would still be able to kind of figure out what the commercial is talking about and how it's shaped. Moving on to the thesis, the counter or Under Armour's claim, according to you, Kelsey, is that everyone can be successful. And then your claim, which is Under Armour fails to acknowledge just how much work and effort must go into being a successful athlete. I think that's a really good claim because not a lot of people, um, you know, professional athletes to do it as a profession. That is their job. But not everybody wants to be a professional athlete. Some people don't want to do sports past high school or college. They'd rather do an actual career. And then you go on to say how there's an overuse of ethos and pathos, leaving out logos. And I like how you go right in with the intro paragraph already stating fallacies. They say there's an appeal to emotion fallacy. Which there obviously is just by watching the commercial. That was one of the first ones that stuck out to me when I first watched it. Um, so, I think, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And then you end it in a really good way, saying that, it gives the everyday weekend warrior false hope and making it big. I think that's a really good statement because it's weekend warriors can't give 110% because they have families or other jobs that take their time. So moving on to audience, you start off with saying, there's a bunch of diversities with the different characters we see in the commercial, and so that can appeal to a lot of different people because there's a lot of different backgrounds within the commercial that people can connect to. And then you also say how the audience could be young athletes because that's what a lot of the characters are. They're young athletes. So that could be that's a good statement of who the audience is. The only thing with your second paragraph, after you mention the audience, I would maybe add assumptions to that. So maybe the Under Armour is assuming that all these young athletes want to be big time NFL, NBA, all stars. Whereas, again, like I stated before, not everybody wants to be a professional athlete. Some people may not want to do sports beyond high school or college. So that could be, it's just a suggestion to add in there. And then you end it with saying that the strongest mode of rhetoric that Under Armour uses is pathos, which is very good as well. Now, next, Professor G stated this, and I'm guessing you've seen it already, to add your ethos paragraph before your pathos paragraphs, because that's how it is in your statement. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the ethos paragraph. So you say how Dwayne Johnson is the perfect person to pick Under Armour's credibility appeal. The only issue is you don't have any evidence within this paragraph to back it up from the video itself. Why is he a credible source? One suggestion to you could be there was that small clip at the end where he says, I was a professional athlete, got hurt, and was stuck with $7 in my pocket. And then he became his self-proclaimed hardest worker in the room. So that's just a suggestion for you to add in there. But definitely, with the ethos, you need to add, with that paragraph, you need to add some sort of direct quote or evidence within the video, helping back up your argument. And then moving on with your pathos. Let's see. So, it's really, your pathos paragraphs are pretty good. I like the examples of both Johnny and Dennis. The one about Dennis is all in pink, so I'm not sure if that's your work or not. But definitely that's a good way to include pathos in there. And then after moving on from that, your point of view, you give both pathos and ethos point of view. And you mentioned before that there's really no logos lens to look through on this commercial because there's so much pathos and ethos already. And then with your moving on, I'm gonna go to the second to last paragraph where you have right now, where you have a bunch of fallacies listed. So I really like how you stated in your introduction how because there's so much ethos and pathos that it creates a appeal to emotion fallacy. I was expecting you to actually expand on that within that second to last paragraph. But then you also stated that there's a narrative and questionable authority fallacy as well. The narrative fallacy is really good. You have good evidence to back it up, at least from the book. However, I would suggest maybe trying to add or reference parts of the video that could really bring more credibility into your argument of the narrative fallacy. And then your appeal to questionable authority fallacy, I definitely agree with that. But it kind of conflicts with the ethos paragraph because in the ethos paragraph we're giving credibility to Dwayne Johnson, saying that he is appropriate for giving this video, on why he's credible. But here we say that there's a questionable authority fallacy, making him not a credible source, because he's a self-proclaimed hardest worker in the room. So I definitely, I definitely would want to see that, solved. Wouldn't want those to conflict at all. That was just one real big issue I saw. But then I would say maybe, try to end with the appeal to emotion fallacy, and really try to expand on that a little bit more. And then, your last paragraph is real good as well. So I would definitely add a little bit more quotes from the video, maybe. It didn't feel like there was much in here from the video itself. It was more like just referencing and generalizing parts of the video. And then I couldn't really see any big grammar issues. There is one, though. You use capital U, capital A, referencing to Under Armour, but then you also use Under Armour as a full statement. So I would say to you, instead of using UA throughout your essay, change UA to Under Armour so you have more consistency and people know what you're trying to talk about when you say UA. But besides, that was really the biggest one I found. And I left a few other notes on the essay that's shared with everyone, but overall, I found it a pretty good essay, and I had some really valid points within it. So good job.